Oh, it's just Jord.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's Just Jordan. Today I forgot what I called the title, but hella is it interesting. First of all, before we get started in the video, we have lots and lots of pictures to look through. There's this guy on Reddit, I will give him a shout out right now. He data mined using one of the Unreal decoders? I don't think that's right, but anyway, what happens is you basically simulate one of the Unreal engines and then they unpack it and anyway, but the point is the guy did it and holy how this is interesting. So yeah, big shout out to the user Nullsharp. He's right here. Go give the guy a check out, go give him some upvotes. Pretty legendary. He's also done some really interesting other ones that have just come out, and that's another one that I'm really excited to do a video about, was the unused leech animations, but that's soon, because I have a big theory on that coming out soon. Well, a little hint, it'll be the leeches and the gnomes, there's something there. But anyway, right then, so let's get into the first images. The first image that is obviously unpacked is 6. Now, I'm pretty sure that the hoodie, the reason why it's got different coloured is, if I remember rightly from my modelling days, it's something to do with the weight of the polygons or whatever it is and how much is condensed. So when it weighs, it meshes more or something like that. Anyway, before I get stupidly dumb, that's basically what the colour is. There's nothing to actually do with the actual colour of the coat, but hey ho. I mean, you get to see into her eyes, which is quite interesting. And it's funny how they yet have those in but don't show them at all. And you can see there's no pupil in there, so there's no animation for that. There's nothing really too revealing in the 6th picture, but it's always cool to look at. And then there's a face close up. It's a pretty good model. See why they're good at the job. Now this is the picture that really took me away. Like, what? Okay, so let's take into consideration you're modeling your game. You know, you don't need features, you do need features, you need parts of animation, you need your parts of your model. So, my question is, why would they give the lady a mask if she's got a modeled face behind it? Now, you could argue that it's just how it was designed, or it's maybe was meant to be used but isn't, but then that would also conflict with like the massive backstory that is apparently something we're all trying to find out. But the fact the lady has complete features, her eye and pupil are even there. If we look at the difference between lady and 6, hers are grayed out, they're not really active, but hers are, and I thought that is so cool and it's mad to see it. But yeah, that's pretty sick. Next picture we have, fun fact as well, the lady is actually called a governess. Now, if you don't know what a governess is, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's another word for a nanny, in a sense. So they look after children and whatnot in a household. So keep that in mind when we go into our next theories. But next picture, yeah, is good old stupidly lemped arms janitor with the name Roger, which is quite interesting. But also with this one, you can see, and I reckon these are modelled actually in ZBrush, because I recognise those brush strokes quite well. But what I found really interesting as well is obviously the skin's peeled back, we know that. The colours of the skin are different from obviously here to here. And the mannequin theory I would really rule out, just because of the fact that if you look at, I would understand if the bottom layer of the skin was textured like the mannequin. It's nowhere near like it. But I was really interested in these marks that are intentionally put on. There is no way that they're just accidental strokes of the brush. They're definitely and purposely placed there. But apart from that, there's nothing really major to really point out, apart from the fact he has a bit of blood on his shirt. Could be tomato sauce, for all you know, but I really highly doubt that. Look at that little there's a picture of Jesus there, if you can't tell. eyes, nose, mouth, long hair, beard. Nice Jesus pic, he's everywhere. But the fun fact for the janitor is his actual name is Roger, which is quite interesting. Now, I thought when I saw this, it's like a name tag. So, you know, when you go into work, you know, hi, my name is George, blah, blah, blah. What's interesting is the eyes above it again. Now, if we look a little bit later, that kind of represents something else, but I won't say that just yet. But bear that in mind. It looks like an employee badge, basically. And then we have the chef. The chef is quite... We know they're not all they are. There's definitely something going on between them. And, yeah, so we know there's a mask under there. We know there's 2 different versions of these. And there's another thing going on as well, that if you bear with me a few minutes, I will show you what I mean. Just bear in mind their mouths for now. Just bear in mind their mouths. Okay? So, yeah, so, wait, we'll go back one. So this is the leech. What I really interested in is anything else that's come about for the leech, which hopefully there will be. I have just seen something from our friend from Reddit, so hopefully he'll be giving me permission to use that as well. Please. But hey ho, the leech is the leech. What's strikingly shocking to me is there's 2 legs. And that ties very well with my theory coming. So be on the lookout for that. But just remember the leech has 2 legs for some reason. And some unused animations. Okay, so in this one, this is the DLC. So this is... No, take that back. This is the bread boy. This is the boy, basically. But I think this one's the runaway kid before he was properly modelled, basically. But that's him. Pretty dull, nothing there. Basically dead colours, so it's all greys and maybe lights and a few obviously shadows. But nothing special there apart from his eyes aren't animated on purpose. So it's weird as fuck. And this picture is the prisoner, if I remember rightly. She's... I can't remember if she's the one that runs away. I'll have to double check. Okay, so yeah, I was right. She is the prisoner girl. So this is the one that allegedly drops the rope where... oh, hello. Voice broke. I'm 23 and that's still happening. Don't laugh. But anyway, so she's the one that is apparently thrown down the makeshift rope at the start of the DLC. Spoilers if you didn't already gather. I should probably put that in the title. But yeah, she's the one that throws down the rope. There's nothing really intriguing until we get later on in this data mine. But yeah, it's nothing massively intriguing. They obviously ain't gonna model her properly. She's only been used in the dark, so there's no need to really do any features. But the basic hair and skin tone's all the same. The gnome, yeah, pretty much the same. We thought it was a bandage fucker. He still is. Nothing default to look at there. Good old gnome. Now this is the runaway kid. Same sort of eyes as 6, so I take it they're not far off of each model. But it's very interesting to know that his eyes aren't animated either, which is brilliant. And then you go up close as well. So yeah, same sort of facial modelling, soft chin, nose, hair's the same. Hair's pretty cool. But then you get this bitch. And this is the granny. Now this is obviously the woman under water. So this is a default T-pose, if you will. Nothing really major to point out, apart from obviously when she's actually in-game, her hair will flop down and whatnot. But yet again, no pupil colour or anything. It's more distraught and more. It looks like, obviously, because they're not using it as much. Obviously, with animation, she's underwater. The only time you ever see is when she pops her head up on that thing. But apart from that, it's very basic. It looks like another mask to me, but that could be wrong. I mean, if we look at the side, there's no real indentation that anything is lifting up. So I will disprove of that. But what's interesting is the dress again, and that's quite interesting to see it in this light. It looks like another rag from our good old friends, the gnomes. Hey ho. But anyway, there's her full body with her beautiful breasts. But yeah, that's her whole body, and her arms are just as bloody long, which is quite interesting. Notice her figure as well. She's quite slim. She isn't like every other enemy quote in the game. And what's really interesting is actually the granny is the only one that seems to kill anyone. So when you get caught, obviously in DLC, you get drowned. Drowned. What's the English there? Forgot it. Anyway, but yeah, apart from that, that's pretty much the same old. Dresses look at the same. oh, it just looks like, obviously it's wore away with time, but you know, when you look at the dress, and you can see sort of like, if you were going to put the colour on there, it would be the red colour, and it would just seem to go. So for me, that's interesting to look at. Obviously her fingers are all the same. This is what intrigues me as well, is her fingers aren't the same as everyone else's as well. It's more like the ladies. This is where it gets kind of weird. But anyway, that's for another theory. And obviously you get our old collectible item from the DLC. Nothing too impressive to show you there, apart from the fact that actually it has the eye logo on again, which is corporate or industry, either one. And that's scratched on somewhere which I can't find in game, which bothers me a bit. And there's actually something inside the pupil itself, and it looks like something that's, spoiler alert, I won't say it massively, but it looks like something that takes place in the comic. And if you haven't read the comic, I would highly suggest you read the comic. Read the comic, it's amazingly done. I brought the issue 2 version, and my god, I am impressed with the artwork. Season 2 is, episode 2 is already pre-ordered, so good job. But anyway, that looks like something from the artwork. You can take it 2 ways. Obviously, if you look at the comic, you'll see what I mean. But then you can also look at, there's like a little face here from like the paintings. There's the mouth, there's the nose, and there's the eye, and there's the eye. Then you got the body, which obviously looks kind of like a female body in water. But then you've also got a thin man with like quite a slim head. It's a hard one to notice, but I think it's one of those things that you'll take it as you will. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this one. I think this isn't purposely done. I don't know if it's just my imagination playing up, but hey ho. And this one is called Dr. No. This is hella interesting. So I never really delved into the theory of Dr. No, and I don't think a lot of people did. But with that being said, if there is a whole thing behind it, as in like the industrial whatever and whatnot, it's this guy. This guy is the reason. What's weird about him is if you look at his hands as well, his hands are awfully like the chef's, and not Rogers, definitely not Rogers, but it's definitely like the chef's, which could be a possibility. He's related to obviously the people of the guest rooms. But I think he's the main person behind everything. I think if there's anything fucked up going on, as in like, you know, the whole mannequin story quote, if that's the case, then that's the guy. I think it's a bit more complicated, and I don't know if we have enough to go on yet to make a real educational guess on it. But obviously, as we can tell from the picture, arms crossed, the eyes in the background again, so it's a person of importance and stance. With that in the background, he obviously is somewhat of a top dog up there with the industry. And also the cover on the right, I think, is just the artwork cover, as in, like, you know, when they cover up some art, I think that's what they use to cover it up. Back to the Dr. No thing, I don't think I've seen any artwork of that up. These are actually artworks from this point on, I think. But these are meant to be artworks, and I've not seen any related images to him. I think this is definitely a long shot, but I think that's purposely kept out. I think it was purposely left in the game files for someone to accidentally discover it, like our gentleman on Reddit did. I think that was made for that, because I can't find him in game, and I doubt you will as well. But anyway, he's left with a question mark on his head because obviously no one knows who he is. We don't know who he is, but I'm going to take a wild guess right now and say it's actually Six's father, or it's our next illegible person's father. But that's for the next image. This one, to be precise, actually. So this is the one that's covered up a lot. Now, I have a few ideas on this image. So we definitely know that girl is the prisoner girl. And it seems that that prisoner girl was once given Six's role because she has the raincoat. And she must have been captured like Six could have been, but never was. And I think actually that this girl is the daughter of the lady, because if you do look at in-game, and I don't think I'll have the footage ready to show you, but there's a lot of cells that are open obviously in the DLC, and I suspect that one of the cells you see, which is a bigger one and has a lot of art in, and black ink, which is another big thing, the ink, It's like the ink and the Mr. Lady. It's like, it's a big thing for me. It's really what I'm thinking about all the time. But yeah, so it's like a special treatment in a sense. So I would like to say that the lady is protecting the young girl or her daughter, but not at the same time. What's odd as well is this girl is a lot taller than most of the kids. So she would class, oh, hello Mike, she would definitely be in the height for obviously, you know, cut up, butt up, dinner time. But why hasn't she? And why is she the one trying to run away? Now, there's also this picture, but back to that point quickly. Me and Leanne were discussing it the other today, to be precise, actually, and we seem to think that this girl is actually potentially not a friend. We think she could well be an issue or someone that's luring you from the DLC. I will have a video about it in full soon, but for now, take away the fact that, don't you find it funny how she runs away, doesn't interact, and is always just a bit ahead, enticing you to keep following her. And then when she goes, that black ink goes. And then when she drops the torch as well, the ink is there. And the ink is in the dark and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But that also brings me to this point. I kind of see the red in it, but I want to say it's ink. And it will kind of be one of those things where the character sort of gets angry, scratches the eyes out with the ink, because that's who they are now, because she's been banished to this place. But hey ho, that's a theory for itself, and that's coming soon. So subscribe, plug-in time. So subscribe if you want to see that in the future. And also like the video, it helps me a lot. But yeah, apart from that, we got another obviously frame photo. This is all default sort of textures really. And that's the eye. This is really odd because I had a theory that the eye belonged to someone. It looks more like a human eye, if you had, not a human eye, but a character's eye. I had either the chef 2, the ferryman, or it was the waxman, I forget. But those are the sort of categories I had for that eye, because they look too real to be, it looks too legit to be obviously like a industrial eye sort of thing, if that makes sense. And then here we go, here's to the, here's to the library of photos that, artwork that is used in the game and not used in the game. It's very hard to find some. And there are a few images, like this one, that we aren't able to show because obviously it's a bit graphic or it represents something a bit odd. But generally I can't tell with this one if it's like a metaphoric thing or whatever, but it seems to be like someone on the ground or some bird of some sort, and it looks like a fisherman on top of a boat. So the metaphoric there is sort of like yeah, hard to explain, but I'll get around to that one probably in another video. But I'll quickly run through them all. There's the eye in the lighthouse, and I think that's obviously, you know, what's the word? The whole thing is watching you sort of thing, as is this one. There's always someone watching you in a pipe. These two are, I reckon, our good friends, the chefs. Chef 1, Chef 2. This one I was stuck on. I couldn't figure out who this was. I kind of want to say it's the ferryman or dockman. I can't remember what it's called now, but I want to say it's him. But I haven't seen anything majorly connected to this image myself. But then, is it also connected to the gentleman hanging? I'm a bit confused on how there is the picture of someone hanging that's actually used as an image a lot. And also regarding to hanging, there's the ferryman picture, which was actually really hard to spot. I found this, me and Liam found it 2 days ago, I believe, this image, and it was just before you hit. So when you start at the ladies' quarters level, it's in there. It's the one on the left. You have to drag the chair from one of the other rooms into the lobby, jump up on the chair, and then put the light on to even get the bottom half of this image. But what's quite interesting is it looks like obviously our just see if I can hello, but it's definitely the ferryman because it's got the drooping face, blah blah blah. Was it the waxman? Anyway, but what's interesting about this image is he's hanging. he's actually hanging. I wanted to debunk the fact that it was the gentleman at the start that was hanging defaultly on the general beginning. But the only thing I can say that it's not is the uniform. But then, is it though? Because sometimes I do recall a hotel using obviously the same sort of red sort of overcoats and hats, but then they also would use bow ties underneath, and we can't actually see his trousers, which is quite annoying at this point. So it's still up in the air whether these two images are related. But apart from that, we then have the janitor with his mask up, and it looks fucked. But then I think this is another interesting key that shows that they are actually trying to hide their identities, which is interesting. And then also obviously with it down, then we got a cool picture of a rabbit, which I can't understand massively. I think there's a metaphoric meaning behind it, but I just can't. Unless if any of you guys got an idea about it, let me know in the comments below. It'd be great if we could all have a chat about it. And then we've got the stairs at the end of the game, I believe these are. And then we've obviously got a bit of living quarters. I think these are where the guests would stay, or this is part of the ladies' room. But what's weird about it is this room still has mirrors. So I don't know if it would be, or they're just images. Well, they're images, they could be, but then this is definitely a mirror. So it's possible that that could be related to the old time before the ladies we know, before it changed over. And also Janus's arms, which could be interestingly related to the fact that his arms are kind of like fake in a sense, but it's another one for another day. But then we've got the ferryman bringing someone in, but there's no one actually on the boat, which is quite interesting. So I wonder if that's going out. That picture you see quite a lot actually. And then you've also got the bathroom, which I haven't really correlated that to anything, as well as the bedroom. These seem to be like the guest rooms, if you ask me, like something to do with the general guests of the place and where they'll stay. And then we got our gnomies. Gnomies. Different shapes of gnome, different ages of gnomes. What's really odd is this gnome shares a lot of resemblance to Roger, because if we look at the arms, they're hella long as well. So it makes me wonder if that was Roger before. Maybe? Is it a possibility? I don't know. You let me know in the comments below. But then we've also got obviously 4 other people as well, all different shapes and sizes, which is quite interesting. Then we have 2 little gnomes, and I think they actually represent something very interesting, but I can't confirm that until the second comic is out. As you see, here's the other image. I'd like to say it's a bird, but it looks a lot complicated than that. But then, yeah, again, we get a close-up on, obviously, our little ferryman. You can actually see a few of his features here, which is quite interesting. But yeah, apart from that, it's the same old story. It's really interesting to look at individually. But this one is my favourite to look at. So, we have a few things. We have the governor. The governess, sorry. But I doubt that's the same one we know. That one, that image is sort of implying that she's always watching, as well as the same image there. And then we have these. This intrigues me. Yet again, I think it's another metaphoric image, but I can't as well figure out that one either. So I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time playing with that one. I think, obviously, with a pig, bear, shark, unless they represent each sort of enemy, maybe, because the granny, and then you've got the pig, which would be chef, and then maybe this creature as the janitor, but that, no, I don't know. But then this one is my favorite of these images, and it's a picture. I don't know who it belongs to, but if I feel like it would be belonging to someone related to the lady or someone with higher power, just because of the collar on the dress of what she's wearing. It looks like another I forgot how you pronounce it, but I'm not going to try and say it just to butcher it, but a kimono or whatever. But it's what basically it's a traditional Japanese dress, blah blah. But yeah, so that's interesting because she kind of looks very, I won't say freaky, but I kind of get a reptilian look from her, if that makes sense. I hope it does to you. But then, yep, so we got obviously the, I reckon these are different versions, maybe an old version and a new version. But someone's always watching, or there's a chance there's another. And then we go back to our typical old, I just did a theory on this one image. And what's also interesting is, Leandra pointed this out to me yesterday, is this dress, traditionally, the arms would actually be removable. So you know how the granny has obviously just like a vest sort of thing? That dress could turn into the said vest, which means it's even more reliable than the fact that it's the granny. But I always find it interesting how she's looking away. And then there's a drawn image of the lady. Now what I think is maybe that this isn't the lady we know, but this is the higher up lady. I think this is another governess that we don't know yet. And this could be correlation to obviously someone we don't know yet compared to someone we do. But we know she's watching. And then we've also got some more pictures. And I also wanted to say that, yeah, we got the feet of, I think this is the granny's feet. But then I'm also confused why they showed the feet. But it's very interesting to look at. I'll definitely link the Reddit post below. There's a few images that we shouldn't use, which we're not going to. We're not going to try really interpret them at all, because obviously some don't fit the art style and then some are a rating issue. But obviously you can tell somewhat of what you can see. But then we get to these ones, which is quite interesting. So our hanging man kind of has a face now, which is odd. So this one kind of reminds me of leeches, maybe, or something along that line. And then this one kind of reminds me of, I want to say the janitor in a sense, because it seems like it's stitched up. But then again, we could be this could be referring to the guy we don't know yet. But hey ho. And then we've also got some more effed up images. This is an interesting one. I feel like this is what's going to be more interesting than anything coming. Because I feel like if there's a top governess, there's acting governesses. So obviously these are going to be the other four that we don't know about. But they're all wearing the same uniform. But I think hers is a little bit different. But that's going to be another thing. And obviously some of them are just, you know, weird as fuck. We've got another, I think that's that one in a mask. Like, they're being shown that they're given the mask. So like the chef was given a mask at a young age, and they would learn to use it, or else they look like pigs, basically. And then you've got the wax, someone watching through the keyhole again, not keyhole, but someone's always watching. And then you've got individual ones for, and then we've also got, I think these are like these are concept arts that weren't used, I believe, but that might be wrong. But all these are concept arts that were going to be used as pictures, but they weren't in the end. But it's the same old. So we've got a bit of cheese, a lamp, a chef. I don't look too happy. 6 running away. This seems like to be maybe a very interesting point, because if you think about it, I feel like this is going to be like a kind of final level look at. Because there's like a big, like, think of it inside, for example. Like, there's a big machine in the middle. It's expelling something. And I feel like this is going to be the end game answer. But hey ho, that'll have to be obviously found out when it, you know, at the end. Hey ho, and then we're back to obviously this, which is the guests arriving, going into obviously the mall. But then there's a better image of that, I believe, and coming soon. But then, yeah, so then we get even more weirder. And then we get the chef, and then another eye watching. And this is the default one you see in their room that splits them between. Obviously, because then it's represents what side of the bed they've got. And then this is kind of a real interesting image to me, just for the sheer fact that we can call out each one apart from one. Each one apart from one, if that makes sense. But so we have the janitors, I mean the chefs. That's Roger, our janitor, I reckon. His arm looks a little bit long here. And he's also got a hat, which is interesting. Another chef. And then we cannot figure out who this is. This could be another, it looks like kind of a pigeon. Oh no, wait, looking at it, it's definitely 2 pigeons. That's interesting. And here are the drawings. Now the drawings are quite interesting because obviously we have the janitor here. We have another janitor image where he's being picked. He's picking one of the prisoners up. And we also have the caged kids. So these two are going to be, I think, the runaway ones that we saw in the last DLC. And then there's 6. I think that's who they are. 6 again, or it's the raincoat people. Same old. That's related to the comic. But yeah, again, you'd have to read the comic to find that out. There's a number of rooms locked away. I feel like there's a significant part to play in the middle room, but that's really hard to distinguish because there's an odd selection of rooms, and you can't sort of split them without it not being even. Janitor again, coloured in. You got a load of old newspaper articles which you can't read. I don't know if these are little dev jokes, but also got these stills of the TV images, which is quite weird. And I wondered that if maybe this was an advertisement to people outside the mall to come and eat here. So obviously they got the best food. This one was quite interestingly scary to me. Obviously because of your kid, there's a kid in the bed. There's a shadow, not of the janitor. That's definitely not a janitor because the janitor doesn't have a long nose and doesn't have like sharp fingers. But the thing is, the shadow comes closer and then goes. There's nothing more than that. There's real speculation on who that is. I think it's one of the characters we haven't met just yet. Spoiler, I reckon that's the next DLC. But then we've also got obviously the Watching Hand, the Illuminati Eye. And this is the top ornament on the mall. I don't know if the symbol represents anything, but we'll have to find out in the future. And then this is what I was referring to earlier when we were looking at the chefs. Notice how these kind of look like the mouths and masks of the chefs. Maybe this is related somehow. As yet again, this one is the mall, the top of the mall with the eye, which is interesting, and it leads because there's another stairway that leads to the lighthouse. And then there's the body. Spoiler alert: the hanging guy doesn't have a head, so the amount of times you looked up and couldn't find Nathan. And this is the image of the ornament, obviously, of the lady, like the mini lady thing. I can't remember what it was collectible. What is interesting as well is it had the eye on it, so someone's always watching. Six use this, for example. It's like quite metaphoric, all this usage. A very strange toy that the Datamind recovered. I can't explain this. I want to say it's related to either the janitor or it's one of the chefs, but there you have it, guys. That's a very long ass video, so I'm glad you stuck around if you have. If you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe. It supports me so much you wouldn't believe. Also give the Datamind guy a big high five because our link is Reddit below, and thank him for letting us use these images. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'd love to know what you all think. We obviously haven't shown all of it today. I've just shown a few bits that I found interesting myself. But apart from that, I want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. So thanks, bye.